My name is Lou Deacon, and today I'm doing a presentation on LGBT history from the 1960s until today. This is my audience, and here's my presentation. On January 1st, 1962, Illinois became the first state to decriminalize homosexuality when they repealed their sodomy laws. On July 4th, 1965, picketers began staging the first Reminder Day at Independence Hall in Philadelphia to call public attention to the lack of civil rights for LGBT people. It will only continue for the next 5 years annually. On April 21st, 1966, members of the Mattachine Society staged a sip-in at the Julius Bar in Greenwich Village, where the New York Liquor Authority banned serving gay patrons because they are too rowdy. The Society's president, Dick Leach, and other members announced their homosexuality and are immediately refused service. Following the sip-in, the Mattachine Society will sue the New York Liquor Authority. Although no laws are overturned, the New York City Commission on Human Rights declares that homosexuals have the right to be served. In August of 1966, after transgender customers became raucous in a 24-hour San Francisco cafeteria, management calls police. When a police officer manhandles one of the patrons, she throws coffee in his face and a riot ensues, eventually spilling out onto the street, destroying police and public property. Following the riot, activists established the National Transsexual Counseling Unit, the first peer-run support and advocacy organization in the world. On June 28, 1969, patrons of the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village riot when police officers attempt to raid the popular gay bar around 1 a.m. Since its establishment in 1967, the bar had been frequently raided by police officers trying to clean up the neighborhood of sexual deviants. Angry gay youth clashed with aggressive police officers in the streets, leading to a 3-day-long riot, during which thousands of protesters received only minimal local news coverage. Nonetheless, the event will be credited with reigniting the fire behind America's modern LGBT rights movement. On June 28, 1970, Christopher Saint Liberation Day commemorates the 1-year anniversary of the Stonewall riots. Following the event, thousands of members of the LGBT community marched through New York into Central Park in what will be considered America's first gay pride parade. In the coming decades, the annual parade will spread to dozens of countries around the world. On December 15, 1973, the board of the American Psychiatric Association votes to remove homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses. In January of 1974, Kathy Kozichenko becomes the first openly gay American elected to public office when she wins a seat on the Ann Arbor, Michigan City Council. On June 7, 1977, singer and conservative Southern Baptist Anita Bryant leads a successful campaign with the Save Our Children crusade to repeal a gay rights ordinance in Dade County, Florida. Bryant faces severe backlash from the gay rights supporters across the U.S. The gay rights ordinance will not be reinstated in Dade County until December 1, 1998, more than 20 years later. On November 8, 1977, Harvey Milk wins a seat on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors and is responsible for introducing a gay rights ordinance protecting gays and lesbians from being fired from their jobs. Milk also leads a successful campaign against Proposition 6, an initiative forbidding homosexual teachers. A year later, on November 27, 1978, former city supervisor Dan White assassinates Milk. White's actions are motivated by jealousy and depression rather than homophobia. On May 21, 1979, Dan White is convicted of voluntary manslaughter and is sentenced to 7 years in prison. Outraged by what they believe to be a lenient sentence, more than 5,000 protesters ransacked San Francisco City Hall, doing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of property damage in the surrounding area. The following night, approximately 10,000 people gather on San Francisco's Castro and Market Streets for a peaceful demonstration to commemorate what would have been Milk's 49th birthday. On October 14, 1979, an estimated 75,000 people participate in the National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights. LGBT people and straight allies demand equal civil rights and urge for the passage of protective civil rights legislation. On July 8th, 1980, the Democratic Rules Committee states that it will not discriminate against homosexuals. At their national convention on August 11th through the 14th, the Democrats become the first major political party to endorse a homosexual rights platform. On July 3rd, 1981, the New York Times prints the first story of a rare pneumonia and skin cancer found in 41 gay men in New York and California. The CDC initially refers to the disease as GRID, gay-related immune deficiency disorder. When the symptoms are found outside the gay community, Bruce Vollier, biologist and founder of the National Gay Task Force, successfully lobbies to change the name of the disease to AIDS. On March 2nd, 1982, Wisconsin becomes the first U.S. state to outlaw discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. On March 10th, 1987, AIDS advocacy group ACT UP, the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, is formed to respond to the devastating effects the disease has had on the gay and lesbian community in New York. The group holds demonstrations against pharmaceutical companies profiting from AIDS-related drugs, as well as the lack of AIDS policies protecting patients from outrageous prescription prices. On October 11, 1987, hundreds of thousands of activists take part in the National March on Washington to demand that President Ronald Reagan addresses the AIDS crisis. Although AIDS has been reported first in 1981, it is not until the end of his presidency that Reagan speaks publicly about the epidemic. From May to June 1988, the CDC mails a brochure, Understanding AIDS, to every household in the U.S. Approximately 107 million brochures are mailed. December 1st, 1988. The World Organization organizes the first World AIDS Day to raise awareness of the spreading pandemic. On August 18, 1990, President George Bush signs the Ryan White Care Act, a federally funded program for people living with AIDS. Ryan White, an Indiana teenager, contracted AIDS in 1984 through a tainted hemophilia treatment. After being barred from attending school because of the HIV-positive status, Ryan White becomes a well-known activist for AIDS research and anti-discrimination. In 1991, created by the New York-based Visual AIDS, the red ribbon is adopted as a symbol of awareness and compassion for those living with HIV or AIDS. On December 21st, 1993, the Department of Defense issues a directive prohibiting the U.S. military from barring applicants from service based on their sexual orientation.